All right, guys, let's go ahead and get started. And then hopefully Vanessa can hop on whenever she comes on. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Happy Thursday, everyone. I wanted to start off the meeting, kind of just go over the agenda real quick, right? We wanted to, Ruben and I wanted to share out our experience with the roundtable with the two council members and also community organizations and activists who were there. And then I wanted to then pass it to Jose, and hopefully if she joins us, to share a little bit about the surveys and just like the widespread commonalities. Jose, I don't know if we ever saw your surveys uploaded or not, or if you did upload it, we couldn't find them. But if we wanted to share some of that, and then just talk about like next steps in regards to public outreach, right? We still have about a month till we present, but I think that we need to lay out any events, any type of canvassing that we would like to do to continue gathering input and information, any additional recommendations that we would like to put forth, and then start creating a PowerPoint presentation or start creating the presentation for that. Does that sound good to everyone?
Sounds good.
Awesome. Okay. So I guess I'll go ahead and get started. I want to thank Ruben, who was there with me. Of course, we wanted everyone to be there, but for purposes of not reaching quorum, right? We decided that we were only going to have two members, so myself and Ruben came to the event. Also, we just to clarify, right, like we decided that we wanted to have it off camera, so that way the conversations were a little bit more authentic and people felt a little bit more comfortable sharing out with their experiences, but also the experiences that they are encountering in the community. So I want to start off by saying, right, kudos to council members Fanny Gonzalez and Albornoz who attended, but also to every single person that attended. We had people there who worked with youth. We had people there who worked with education. We had people there that worked in healthcare. We had different demographics from our community, Afro-Latino, you name it. And everyone brought a unique perspective to this meeting. Just to kind of like lay out the structure of the meeting and how it went, right? We started off the meeting with just kind of doing a grounding exercise, sharing out lived experiences with, people's own experience, right? Or witnessing, anti-hate crimes and anti-bias incidents. And then we also then proceeded with statistics and general data of what's happening in Montgomery County, right? Sharing out what we have collected so far in the Latino community, and any surveys that we had, additional surveys that we had and shared out with that. And then we finalized the meeting and really structured the discussion around the recommended policies, recommendation policies that we have put forth, right? I think that many people really appreciated the structure. That meeting probably could have gone for another 5 hours. There was a lot of great, authentic conversation. And I think the two pieces that I got away from that was, we shouldn't assume that people know this information. I think that that's one of the things that was confirmed there, that a lot of people in the community, including people who help our community, don't know this information, right? From the definition between anti-hate and anti-bias. But also really putting something that they can analyze and give feedback, which was the policy recommendations, was extremely helpful. Obviously, their lived experience and feedback is part of the process, but ultimately we want to present, our recommendations to the community, right? So that way they can say, oh, like, I completely understand, I get it, right? Here's what I would put forth, or they could say, you guys are on the wrong track. That's actually not what's happening in the community. And so we collected valuable feedback, and from the feedback that we collected, I think that the top recommendation that has put forth was really putting forth a campaign within our community to do more outreach, and also implementing educational programs in the community, because as we said, this is not widely known, a topic that's not widely discussed, and they would like to have us actually, perhaps potential events that they have coming up, speak, give that same presentation, but also, again, that was the top recommendation. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it to Ruben, so that way he can share a little bit about his experience, right? Because I know he was there for a part of the meeting.
Yeah. So thank you, Alex. So hi, everyone. It was really nice to see, everybody in the meeting. I only could attend for like 45 minutes, because I have to head out to work. But I have like good conversations with like most of the people. It was like the community is like really active, and they are like really pay attention to what we are doing, and what are gonna be our recommendations. And yeah, it's like one of the points that they tried to make, that it came up really surprising for me, that I think it's like it goes in the same direction that one of the first points that you mentioned, Alex. There's like some people in that meeting, they have no clue with like a hate and bias it is. Because I think that's like, for like my interactions with some people, they thought what it was like a hate and bias incident. And then after they explain it, it was like, okay, I think that they are like really confused about what is like a hate and bias incident. So I think that is I've been thinking on all of this, right? It's like how in that particular meeting, at that particular level, some of the people there, they were not aware of like what is what, right? Was like apples and pears, right? So I think that we need to put, for good or for bad, right, in our recommendations, that we need to educate. We need to educate what is like a hate, what is actually hate and bias, and what it is not. Yeah, and it's like I know that like this sounds like really weird, and I don't know how to put it like in these terms, but I think that's like, we need to get support to the community, and support to the community is like actually leading them and say, this is what you suppose that we should do when you see like a hate and bias incident, and this is what it is, a hate and bias incident. And I think that it's important that we put those measures there. Like, I've been like, I don't know if like you mentioned, Alex, about the hotline or like a web portal with all this information and all this training. I don't know if you discussed, because I was not there. So if you can elaborate a little bit more on that, that would be great.
Yeah, of course. And again, thank you, Ruben, for being there and sharing that experience. Towards the end, we did a QR code that linked them directly to the Anti-Hate Task Force website, which has a bunch of resources on there already. That gives like people access to like hotlines, right, and more information, and all the data that was provided by the Montgomery County Police Department and more. And so they were able to access that information towards the end. And I think, I do want to just uplift one more thing. Youth was definitely an important topic of this discussion, right? Recognizing the need to continue centering the youth voice, which is absent in this task force, but also we had a lot of people that work with youth, and it became pretty evident that that there's some that the systems in place, right, are not completely there yet, right? There's some confusion about the systems on not only reporting, but collecting the information, but also like their experience with the youth, right, and working with that. And the last thing I will say is, one of the people who were there, I believe his name was Carlos Berta, the one that works with the soccer. Carlos, he does a lot of great work in partnership with the county, right, to really mentor youth through sports, especially soccer. And one of the things that he shared in his experience, right, was really finding what we have in common versus what divides us, right? And that's really worked with him, especially with youth that come into his program. Really just I guess the word is like hating each other, but also like, tearing each other apart, right? And finding that commonality in terms of what we have in common that unites us more, especially in our Latino community. So, Bertha, I don't know if
And Alex, I did want to touch on Ruben's point about the hotline. So yesterday on Tuesday, what's today, Thursday? So yeah, so on Tuesday, the Muslim cohort presented their recommendations, and one of them, it's also to create a central place where people can report hate crimes. So certainly all the cohorts are, looking to improve the area of reporting. So, and also education and outreach. So I actually have the recommendation right in front of me. So create a central place, educate the community on using that central place to report hate crimes, and suggest a PSA campaign that includes staffing with community resources for intake. So all of you are, spot on with where you have analyzed and gathered feedback from the community as far as where the gaps are.
Yeah, thank you, Bertha. And Bertha was there, as always, helping us out, taking notes. Bertha, I know that, I don't know if you just want to share your quick experience with the meeting.
Sure. So it was a great meeting. Both Councilmember Albornoz and Natalie Fanny Gonzalez are incredible, champions of our community, of everyone in our county. So having them there with, the room was packed. I didn't count, but I would say about 20 community representatives who are boots on the ground and have been working with, our community for a very long time. And I guess I do want to share some of other thoughts that I wrote down as the discussion evolved. So I have thoughts, reactions to the data that you presented, Alex. So certainly underreporting, and this goes back to the need for having, a more centralized place too, where better data can be captured. The fact that, there's also underreporting because our community doesn't really know how to report these incidents. PSA campaigns, language access, of course, that's a huge item in our community. I have investing in youth and positive youth development initiatives, as Alex mentioned. There were also a lot of community leaders who work with young Latinos in our community, so they certainly lifted those voices and shared that there's a huge need to, to invest in the positive development of our youth. There's also a lot happening at MCPS. So again, a lot of this incidents and questions are going on happening at the school level, and parents just not really having the right information or really, know how to address things that are happening with, their children. And this was something voiced by community coordinators who work with this population at the school level. Another very important thought that was shared by one of our incredible Afro-Latina leaders that were present is also door-to-door outreach and canvassing as a tool to go deeper into our community. And then also back to the importance of PSA campaigns, informing our community, utilizing, leveraging our Latino media, because, that's precisely the media that we consume, where we go for trusted information as well. One thing I wanted to mention is that Carlos Represa from the Street Outreach Network mentioned that there's an event coming up in Tacoma Park at the MC campus. I said that backwards. There's an event at the Tacoma Park campus, it's a youth forum on October 17th at 8 a.m. If you want to consider one or two of you attending, maybe bringing you know, a little survey, 3 questions to you know, survey the youth there. I'm happy to reach out to Carlos and see if, you know, if that's even allowed. I mean, he did share that event with us and mention that, you know, there's an opportunity to engage with youth. And of course, I'll make myself available and I can accompany who, you know, whatever cohort members are able to attend. The last piece I wanted to mention regarding the cohort policy recommendations that were presented was related to language access. So Councilmember Albornoz shared that there used to be an internal audit that tracked language accessibility in county departments. As everyone, majority of people know, he used to be director of the rec department, and he shared that it was done twice a year to see how departments, county agencies were complying with with state laws that mandated language accessibility. So he's learned that the audit is no longer being conducted. And again, that's something that, you know, it's right aligned with your recommendation of ensuring that, you know, language accessibility is a priority and that we're complying with the law too. And I think I don't want to continue because that's actually the end of my notes here, but like I said, it was a very engaging conversation, lots of experts, and above all, these were community, you know, leaders who shared very valuable perspectives, and Alex and Ruben did amazing facilitating that conversation. That's
Thank
all.
you, Bertha. I don't know if any cohort members have questions or any comments regarding this event before we move on.
Just answering to Bertha's offer for the 14th. I'm available as long as it's not on Monday. I'm not sure when the 14th falls.
Did I say 14th? It's the 17th.
17th. Is it? You know which day is it? By any chance?
One moment. I can look that up. It's
Tuesday.
a Tuesday at
Yeah,
8
so
a.m.
you can count with me. So I'm like 5 minutes away from Tacoma, so that'll be perfect.
I'll reach out to Carlos then, and then I'll get back in touch with you all.
Perfect.
Awesome. Okay. Okay, so being on the topic of the surveys, Jose, I don't know if you've had an opportunity to do more additional surveys and like the communities that you're in, or even Ruben.
Yep. So I was actually able to have 2 that I thought they were uploaded to the cloud, but I'm gonna send directly to Bertha. There's been an issue with our accessing of the files because I'm doing it through an impact server. So apparently it requires a permission for the admin to be able to send this information. So I'm definitely getting on jumping on that this week and sending you the 2 surveys we did for the back to school night and the event on the 20th of September. And we have a back to school night this Friday at Lane Haven Elementary. So we'll be able to reach out more families. So I'll add all 3 events and results to the form we have and send it to Bertha no later than Monday. So you guys will definitely have the info by Monday next week.
Awesome, thank you. And if there are any additional events that you think we should keep an eye on, please let us know so that way we can put on the calendar.
I think we have the internet wellness nights are happening all over the county on October 17th, 18th, and 19th on 3 different schools that are highly demographically Hispanic, which is Joan Lelick, New Hampshire State's, and White Oak Middle School. So they have wellness nights on those days. It's up to you guys if you want me to run or not a survey, but I can. And then those are the youth and parents that are predominantly Latinos.
You said they were back to school nights? Is that what I heard?
They're wellness nights.
Oh, wellness. Okay, got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think I'd be happy to so we have you down for the 17th in the morning, but I'd be happy to do one of those nights. If anyone wants to join me, and I could not only bring the surveys with me, but I'm assuming there'll be parents there as well, Jose, right? With their
Yeah,
kids or
so
no?
the wellness night is mostly for all the parents of the school to know about the resources that are being provided by the county as well as the school for that school year. And it's a great opportunity to just ask them questions and be like, "What have you ever been aware of a hate crime or things like this?" I did it through the back to school night at Lelick, and I got pretty interesting responses. Like parents do want to get educated. Parents do want to know more about how to protect their child from having a hate crime or committing a hate crime themselves. So it was pretty interesting getting the feedback. So once I share it with you guys Monday, you can see some of the responses and also just the numbers in between, between females, males, Latinos, blacks, everyone that was on it. But it was predominantly Latinos. So Lelick is a school that's getting redone October next year, and their population is supposed to be between 560 and 600. They got 900 students. So they're overpopulated, underserved, and they definitely get neglected through all the hate crimes that happen. They're not aware of. So it's going to be a great research for us.
Got it. Thank you. I'm wondering, so these are great. I think that there's a wonderful opportunity to not only engage the parents, but the youth. I'm wondering if, since we're on the topic of youth, if there's an opportunity for perhaps MCPS to allow us to do some sort of like presentation to like an assembly of students, or like, a predominantly Hispanic / Latino school. Bertha, do you know what the logistics would be behind that, or is that?
I don't, but I can always reach out to our contact at MCPS and figure it out. Another thing that I just remembered from Nora, who had shared with the group before, could be the potentially her distributing a survey with Identity Youth, because they run a lot of, I mean, that's really their clients as well, youth and their parents. So maybe having a check-in, with Nora and finding out if she would want to have a survey. It would largely depend on I think her checking in with her executive director too, but she had mentioned it, right? So.
Got it. So I think that like in terms of the events, right? I think that what we could do is we could share with them, right? And if there are events that are worthy of us going to do outreach, right? Let's go ahead and share them in our file or via email. So that way we can kind of coordinate to see who can go to which event, obviously making sure that less than 2 members go. So that way we don't reach quorum. Is that correct?
Yep. Yeah. And also just as far as the data, which I'm sure it's already getting done, just quantifying the number of people that you're getting responses from, so that in the end, all of it can be added up and presented. From our full task force meeting on Tuesday, the Muslim cohort also did a survey, and they got 46 responses that their presentation touched on a lot of those details that were shared from their community. So I like the fact that and I think all of you were there, but if you were, and I will share the slides too, because they did they compile all that data and really presented it to everyone in a very visually appealing way too. So
yeah, thank you. And last thing, Berta, I know that the Montgomery County, I know that the county government or county council, at least both actually, have their own Spanish social media. Is there a way that we could potentially do like a online survey that we could share out through the social media that could be shared
Yeah.
out with our community?
I can let me run it by my supervisor and then I'll
Okay.
get back to you. But yes, especially the council's Spanish Facebook page has
Yeah.
a lot of
That's
good
a lot of, yeah.
engagement. So
Got it.
yes, that's a great idea.
Okay, cool. Thank you. So I think, I mean, we're moving pretty quickly with this meeting, right? Because I think what we want to really do is be out there collecting, right? Since we are the last cohort to present. Can I open it up in terms of like from the recommendations that we have, are there any additional recommendations that come to mind? Is there any tweaks, right? Just wanted to open it up to the floor in collecting the information. I know it's still early on. We're still in the process of collecting it. Ruben or Jose, I don't know.
Alex, can you please remind us what are the recommendations we have right now? Because we've spoken about them, but I don't.
Yeah, of
What is the
course.
list? Yeah.
Yeah. So let me, I have my page open real quick. Let me just do. Okay, so the recommendations that we have so far, just scroll down. All right, so one, right, first recommendation, task the Office of Community Engagement to conduct Spanish listening sessions in the predominantly Latino census tracts of the county with adults and youth ages 11 to 18 to collect their experiences with county agencies regarding hate, bias, and prejudice in the county to pinpoint areas of concern and develop an action plan to address concerns. So that's one. Second one, create an Office of Immigrant Affairs like DC and New York and other geographic locations that welcome large numbers of immigrants to help coordinate information, resources, training, and services for the new and long-term immigrant residents of the county. The third one is just simple, youth, right? Engage the youth in future task force, right? And ensuring that we're centering them, since the majority of the statistics are coming from the youth. Next one, recommendation for community grants initiative to distribute funding to grassroots organizations to engage in authentic community outreach and education on this topic and invest in an anti-hate PSA campaign similar to the one in LA, which also ran an initiative and collaborated with nonprofit organizations. Next one, task the council to form a diversity hiring work group so that there is an increase of Latinos represented in managerial roles within the county government as representation matters. Next one, provide cultural competency training to all county agencies on Latinos, how to conduct outreach in the Latino community, and how to provide effective and excellent customer service to Latinos. The next one is pretty lengthy, but essentially, the one about language access, right? That legally we're supposed to be tracking, right, language access, right? And so we kind of inserted a piece of that law there and essentially ensuring that the county is up to code and is legally mandated to highlight and track the different county agencies that use language access. And then finally, the last one is expanding the definition to include both implicit and explicit bias. I know it was a lot, but that's what we have so far.
That's amazing, Alex. So the one thing I wanted to maybe tweak around is the one before the last one when it came to accessibility and stuff. It's maybe utilizing the spaces that already been there, the county already has, like community centers and our libraries and our meeting rooms that we have available to create the proper training. Sometimes we look for any facility and we already have it, it's just not being utilized. And that's one of the things that has impact we found out. It was like 10% of the kitchens in the county were actually being used. for any programming. And we started the culinary classes completely free of charge for community members, and it was one of the things that we found out. Like, there's a lot of spaces the county could be utilizing, but they're either not accessible to Hispanics or Latinos, or they're always booked for things that are not related to actual community engagement. They're mostly like a meeting about a book club or something like that. So instead of, we could be utilizing it for trainings or educating our community at many locations throughout the county.
That's actually a great suggestion. Thank you, Jose. Ruben, anything come to mind for you in terms of what we have so far?
I think that all the points that they look good. Probably we have to add, like, what I say is like hotline or training, is like education on that sense, and maybe we'll have to think about how to implement like that kind of education, right? Other cohorts, what they have been doing is, like, for instance, the US cohort has been implementing like training for federal workers, I think, like, right?
I think we lost Ruben. Ruben, you there?
Yeah. Can you
Sorry,
hear me?
Yeah, you froze for a second.
Sorry. Yeah, it's like I'm having problems with my connection. Sorry, guys. So yeah, it's like that those two things, and maybe it's like on terms of legislation, I don't know. It's like if there is something that we can do on terms of that. I didn't see that from other cohorts recommendations, right? It's like really on the hard lines of like how.
I think we lost Ruben again. Okay. Hopefully he'll come back. So I think that this is a good list to start off, right? We have a pretty sizable list of recommendations, and I think that it'll only grow or get adjusted as we continue collecting more data. As I said, we're the last cohort to present, so
we can work it out, something with that.
Can
Ruben,
can I follow up on Ruben's point about the piece of legislation? So a suggestion that could be worth exploring, and you can have this discussion with the rest of cohort members too at a later meeting. So the Office of Legislative Oversight, it could be tasking them with a report with lessons from the field. And I say this because when then Councilmember Navarro started looking into the racial equity and social justice legislation, she requested that the OLO, which are the research, they do research, independent research for the council legislative branch, asked them to provide a report on, and I repeat again, valga la redundancia, lessons from the field. And what they did is pretty much study and present what other jurisdictions around the county, around the nation were doing in terms of racial equity and social justice legislation. So maybe that could be, the recommendation for the council to task this office with producing a report that looks into what other similar jurisdictions are doing to tackle hate and bias through legislation. Just because I know that that's a huge undertaking, right? Coming up with any piece of detailed legislation, but certainly can be studied, and recommendations do come from those reports. So, that's a starting point if you want to consider that.
Yeah, and in that sense, I think that Berta, it's like really good point that the one that you are like trying to that you made. It's like I think that other states, they already passed on legislation, through those based on those recommendations, based on those studies, right? So I think that's important that we push for those.
Yeah, I completely agree. And they've done it before in other issues, right? Specifically like rent stabilization and housing. So they'll definitely be helpful. So okay, I know this meeting went by pretty quick, but I think that, is there anything else that we want to address in this current moment? I know we're missing two cohort members, but I think that we have a few events laid out for us. I don't know if you guys want to put on the calendar. Do you guys want to make the decision on when to have the next meeting, or would we rather try to coordinate offline to see what works for the majority? So I think given that, go ahead, Jose.
I was just saying maybe send an email to everyone and see what will be the best date, since we only have 3 of us right here. 4 of us, my bad.
Perfect. So we'll coordinate online, so that way we can ensure that we have the entire cohort. And I think in terms of next steps, right, Jose, you're going to go to the event on the 17th at 8 a.m. I can volunteer myself to go as well, but if there's any other cohort members that want to go, that's fine. And then I'm going to coordinate with you, Jose, to get a little bit more information regarding the wellness nights on the 18th and 19th to see if I can go. Again, I volunteer to go, but if we have other cohort members that would like to go, that is fine. And then I know, Bertha, you're going to find out about the social media, using social media platforms.
Yeah.
And then also potentially coordinating some sort of like education assembly within the school.
Yep. You know, now that I remember, the Black African American cohort did a virtual youth forum with MCPS and students. So I'll follow up with that and get back to you.
Okay. Cool. Well, I think that's it. That's the end of this meeting. We'll coordinate offline, and everyone enjoy the rest of your day.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.